This session is in connection with the World Religions program at Bellarmine Preparatory School. We are learning about Islam, and we have gotten together with two young people who have adopted Islam as their faith. And in this connection, we are meeting Umar and Melany. We'll be talking to Melany first. So, good morning and assalamu alaikum, Melany. How are you doing?
I'm good. Morning.
So, my first question to you is that most of us are born into a faith. We may not practice the faith, but that becomes our identity. So, if one makes a conscious decision to adopt a faith, I'm sure you have to go through a lot of pondering and thinking.
Yeah.
What attracted you to Islam?
Initially, I grew up as a Christian, but more specifically a Jehovah's Witness Christian. And in my teen years, I started kind of shying away from that because there were a lot of questions in Christianity in particular, not just that religion, that could not be answered. It was more like, okay, you get to a certain point and then just have faith that it's the truth. You know, God works in mysterious ways. We can't answer these questions. And so later on I started studying many different religions and looking into them, and just one by one I would cross off, okay, this one for sure I don't think is right. And when I came to Islam, mostly what attracted me to it is just I had a ton of questions. Every time you watch the news or you see women walking around covered, I was thinking, you know, what is this? Why are people like this? Especially here, you know, my first thought was, well, they're living in America. Why can't, you know, they can just be like us. Why are they still holding on to this so strong? What is it about this religion that people are actually converting to so quickly? So with those questions, I actually had a lot of friends around me who were Muslim or new Muslims, and so I started talking with them and, you know, checking out books at the library or bookstore and trying to get as much information I could about the religion.
So, did it answer a lot of the questions that you had in your mind?
Some questions were answered, but I think the more I got into it, the more questions I had, because a lot of, you know, there are some books out there that don't give you correct information. You have to be really careful where you get your information, because there are books that are very anti-Islamic but make it seem like it's pro-Islamic. But with time, with certain people I met, questions were being answered, and I was finally feeling satisfied with the answers, and not just because I felt this is my opinion and this is what I want the answer to be, but it just made sense. It made logic, and they were rational answers. They weren't answers like, you know, just have faith that it's the truth. The answers were based on fact or reasoning that any person from any place could understand, and it would make sense, you know, across the board.
Would you give me any one example of any paradox that you had hard to?
I would think for a woman, the number one thing that was initially hard for me to understand, especially coming from a Western world where, you know, image and, you know, what a girl looks like and how she dresses. The biggest thing was the clothes and you know, wearing hijab. At first, it was something that I just thought, you know, you can be a good person and still dress this way, and, you know, God doesn't care what you look like, and I had all of those same kinds of things. But over time, I started seeing things from a different angle and thinking that, you know, being covered is actually, it's, you know, from the Western perspective, the way I always saw it, and most people around me would always say is, you know, there's something wrong with those men. They just want to keep the women oppressed and covered because they're afraid that other men will look at her, and there's something wrong with them to want to keep them covered. And when I started really looking at the big picture of what's going on, I started seeing that the people who want women to be uncovered are the ones with the bigger problem. They want to exploit women. They want to make women feel that you're more free, you're more liberated, and you have a better chance of getting a husband or, you know, whatever, a promotion by using what you look like, instead of seeing that a woman is more than her looks. She's a human being and she deserves to be treated with respect. And so when I started seeing things from that angle, I thought it makes more sense to be covered. And it wasn't much of an issue after that.
Now, and that is your perspective, but did you feel that the way world around you looked at you changed? Is it hard to function as a Muslima in the American society?
I don't think so. I mean, in the beginning, I feel like I mean, it is a difficult change, of course, because you are changing the way you believe. And you know, before, when I would walk around, I was just a typical, you know, white American girl. And then all of a sudden, just the way I dressed, automatically I was a minority around, you know, my own, you know, people, my own race and nationality and everything. But there was a little bit of paranoia in the beginning. You know, I thought, oh my God, everybody's looking at me, they're watching me. But that was, I think it was mostly in my head. I found that I think American people in general are very open to change, or they're open to seeing different cultures, and it's not that big of a deal. So I've